Namaste, I'm Banjade, an MPhil student at Nepal Open University, Manvapan, Lalitpur, Nepal. I feel very happy to get this chance to make a short presentation on the politics of translation by Gayatri Chakrabarti Spivak. I'm very thankful and grateful to my course facilitator, Mr. Kesab Sigdal, who has given me this golden opportunity of sharing my understanding of the text, the politics of translation. In this short presentation, I will be mainly giving introduction of the author uh, of the text, the politics of translation, and I will also talk about language and culture and translation as reading, which have been discussed in the essay by Gayatri Chakrabarti Spivak. Let me begin my presentation with the introduction to the author. The author of the essay, The Politics of Translation, Gayatri Chakrabarti Spivak, is a famous post-colonial feminist writer and a, widely known translator. She was born in 1942 in Calcutta, West Bengal. Gayatri belongs to the first generation of intellectuals after independence of India. She graduated from the University of Calcutta in 1957 AD. Then after completing her graduation, she completed master's degree from Cornell University, United States, and worked in University of Iowa and University of Chicago in different capacities. She has also held a high recognition by being the only Indian to receive Kyoto Prize for her work, thought and ethics. Spivak has discussed many things in her essay, The Politics of Translation, and here I would like to discuss her ideas put in the essay regarding language and culture. She actually started her translation work with Jacques Derrida's De la Grammatologie. She is widely known as Marxist feminist deconstructionist, so she has been highly influenced by Jacques Derrida's theory of deconstruction. In translation, um, she is also concerned about constructing the meaning of the text, and she is mainly known as post-colonial writer. Gayatri showed her concern towards empowering marginalized women dominated by hegemonic culture. She strongly points out that the culture of the strongest, the culture of the powerful people or the powerful countries has direct influence on the marginalized section of the society. So she views language as a tool for carrying culture, the language of the power, the language of the strongest nation carries the culture of the marginalized people, carries the culture of the uh, unheard people in a different way. So they use language as a tool for manipulating the culture of the powerless sections of the society. She regards translation as politics in the politics of translation. So our essay, the politics of translation, uh, regards the language, regards translation as a politics because there is dominance of the hegemony, there is dominance of the powerful countries or the powerful individuals over the powerless or the unheard people or the marginalized people. She views ex-colonizers imposing Western and sorry, Western and hegemonic ideas and cultures over the weaker. Spivak also proposes to promote the language of third world countries. As the feminist writers, as the feminist translators, one has to promote the language of the third world countries or the developing countries where the people are unheard, where the people are marginalized and dominated. She opposes the feminist writers' trend of imposing the language of power. So most of the feminist writers, according to Spivak, tend to impose the language of power. She strongly opposes that. She mainly talks about the European writers, European feminist writers, who usually dominate the ideas of the people from outside Europe. Therefore, she suggests the feminist writers or the feminists to learn the language of the post-colonial countries. Unless they learn the language of the post-colonial countries, they cannot show the real solidarity. They cannot actually carry out the real movements that empower the marginalized women in the world. So, Spivak says translation is an act of understanding self and others. So it is not only learning the language of the translator, it is not only mastering the language of the translator herself or himself, but the translator has to learn the language of others. Only then they understand the culture of the third world countries. She also regards translation as reading, because translation is not only converting the text of source language into the target language, but in the meanwhile the translator is engaged in reading the culture of the source language and the target language both. So it is ultimately the way of reading. And Gayatri proposes three levels of the notion of language: rhetoric, logic, and silence. Or language contains these three things. And a translator needs to love the text. Unless the translator loves the text, he or she cannot immerse into the most important aspects of the language. So there is a need for improving and being aware of cultural differences that are found between source language and the target language. And a translator needs to learn the other person's mother tongue. Unless we learn the other person's mother tongue, we do not understand the real culture that is prevalent in their context. So the translator should surrender to the text. The text is the most important thing, and most of the translators fail to bring meaning out of the text that they translate from one language to the next. Rhetoricity is very important aspect in any language. It interrupts the logical system of language. So the translators have to understand the rhetoricity of the source language. If they do not do that, if they cannot do that, they fail in addressing, they fail in bringing the meaning that the uh, source language actually intends to express. So most translators fail in addressing rhetoricity of the source language. The text remains unmeaningful if rhetoricity is forgotten. There are lots of metaphors, there are lots of vital clues hidden in the source language, and the translator, if he or she does not understand the metaphors of the language, the translation becomes meaningless. So the vital clues get hidden in the source language. The vital clues that are hidden in the source language get lost if the translator is not aware of those aspects. But Spivak gives suggestions not to let the vital clues of the source language get lost while the translator is translating the text into another language. So it can be done by developing love and affinity to the text. And finally, she says translation is reading and dealing with others' title. So a good translator has to learn others' language, so he or she has to deal with someone else's title and someone else's language. Thank you so much.